Welcome to Taking Stock. It is Wednesday, the 6th of September, 2023. It's on fire, the temperature in the UK. It's warmer than Spain, I think, but, the markets aren't on fire particularly. But John is in his beach shirt. All right.
That's because I'm by the beach. I've come away for a few days.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, I suppose. And you don't live far from the beach, do you?
No, I don't. But we've actually come away for a few days to stay probably about half an hour's drive from where I live in an Airbnb up in Lowestoft, which is a town with a bad reputation, which has a couple of the most beautiful beaches in the country. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Is the weather bad? Good weather bad for the markets? Because I feel like sometimes when the weather's good, people just switch off, don't they? It's like still on holidays pretty much. And I think we're still back in September, sort of start for sort of real. But I think there's still people off, and there's still people on summer holidays somewhere, kids somewhere on some too long summer holidays.
No, never long enough. Never long enough.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean the market's a bit soft today, isn't it? But I think that's probably more to do with this news on oil.
Yeah, well, look at that, actually. But look at that, FTSE down, 0.7%. FTSE 250 down, 0.6%. 350 as well, down 7, it's FTSE 100. AIM all share, it's not the worst, it's in fact the best performer, but it's still down 0.35%. Jonathan Matthews at the top there, one of the risers in the FTSE. Prudential down, Aberdeen, Persimmon, Barratt, all that. So,
yeah,
Barratt's house builders in there.
Yeah, but some pretty horrid news. Barratt, I think they cut their dividend. Yeah, I mean the profits were down. I think they did very well on completions, which are only offer a little bit. Revenue was actually slightly up because you've had a very strong pricing environment, but profits were down quite sharply, down about 16% adjusted PBT. And I guess that reflects the higher cost of construction. But the outlook's pretty horrible. Home deliveries completions expect to fall to about 14,000 next year. It's about 3,000 lower than this year. And the dividend has been cut.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at the discussion, by all means, if you're watching this for the first time, some of you may be on the beach like John and, not watching it and all that stuff. But if you're watching this for the first time, people say they can't watch it live, but they watch it after work. In fact, some nice comments. But talking about, house builders, I don't know if you saw this headline, UK builders suffer sharp fall in orders as rates rise. And this is purchase and managing the construction industry fell to 50.8 in August, remaining in growth, of course, about 50, but down from 51.7 in July. And builders cited weaker economic conditions, cutbacks to new building projects, and local planning delays as factors holding back house building activity. So still some pain to go there. I can't see that easing off. Again, central banks driven, isn't it? Unless central banks see inflation coming down, it's still going to hike by a quarter percentage point. I think it's a couple of weeks.
It's a tricky balancing act. I suspect they'll hike again. But so it's tricky. It's tricky balancing act because interest rates obviously hurt the housing market. But inflation, affects people's ability to pay their mortgage or their propensity to want to move and take on more debt at higher rates. So it's a real nasty choice that the Bank of England faces there. Planning delays is interesting. I guess this is one of the reasons why we saw this sort of environmental protection rolled back last week, the nutrient reform. Just to get more houses built, remove some of the sort of objections, the NIMBYism, the whatever you want to call it, that the industry faces. But again, very controversial move. But yeah, I can see that PMI figure going into contraction at some point soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Comments, by all means, leave a comment and we will get back to you, even if it's after the show. Dave P said, another excellent podcast. Thank you. Well, there's a podcast as well as this, of course, I think. Mac Men, another enjoyable episode. Have to tune in after work, he says. Free capital, he says, this is from yesterday. I am firmly a dividend investor. The monthly income is real. It's absolutely real. Of course it is, yes. And he goes to IUKD is my preferred UK dividend investment, same as me. And in fact, Saint said, "Are COVID stocks due a comeback?" I did hear. I don't think it's going to be as bad as last time because we didn't have any vaccine or anything like that. But they may have a rally. Anything related to the COVID stocks, because we are starting seeing a new sort of variant. And I heard on the I think it was Radio 5 or something, a teacher has to wear a mask all day in class because one pupil has gone home with COVID. I think this is ridiculous now. You can't teach whether wearing a mask all day because one kid's been gone home with COVID. But it may, sentiment-wise, it may push up some of those stocks. What do you reckon, John? Did you get involved in the COVID rallies?
No. I mean, we talked about them before. They're sort of peak-like. They rose quickly and they came down very quickly as well.
But some fantastic money could have been made there, especially in Novacyt. Yeah. Novacyt was the king of the COVID rally. I mean, look at that chart there. If you look at the rise it has there, price range there, you're going from January 2020 up to let's say 12 quid.
You've got to remember that money was made. So the government was funding the provision of COVID testing, which it is no longer doing, and it's very unlikely that such sums will be chucked, at COVID testing again. So people have got to buy their own tests, and do people want it? Are people bothered? I don't think they are. So these businesses, are in the process of reinventing themselves. I think should there be any COVID hype? And in fact, I looked at this sector a while back, and not many of them actually delivered many tests to the NHS. This was the other thing.
Well, the thing is, the one that did was Novacyt, like a 13,000% rise. Okay, and they did, but now they're having a legal tangle with the government on contracts delivered or not. So they've got a lot of cash. And some of that cash may have to go towards funding,
but they all got embroiled in these legal battles. But the majority of the tests came from China. It was a company called Orient Gene. Orient Gene, I think, bought the operations of, was it Omega? I think it might have been Omega. So actually, what were COVID stocks in some cases are no longer COVID stocks. They don't do these tests anymore.
Yeah.
And are reinventing themselves, to provide testing in other areas. Omega Diagnostics had a statement out today. They're going into nutrition testing. Having a few teething problems there, but as I said before, I think it's quite an interesting market to get into. But it will take time.
The chart of Novacyt is quite interesting because what you got here. I mean, I always look for this break of the 50-day moving average. The blue line is 50-day moving average. It broke that, and then previous highs, and of course, previous highs up here, pretty much there. It broke that again, and it's gone up. So it's done really well from the lows. 40 to 80. It's doubled already. What's Omega ODX? So that's ODX. That's performed. But I don't think it's going to be a massive rally. They're not in it anymore. But like I said, they've 52-week lows they're at. Just to mention IUKD, if like someone just said there, I do on this as well. It's it's pretty much FTSE 100 and FTSE 250. It has the 50 highest yielding dividend paying stocks in that fund. I think we see it pretty much reflects the FTSE 250 pretty much, and that's where we are.
That
means the dividend goes up, of course. The yield goes up, the share price goes down. So there we are.
Yeah, I use City of London Investment Trust as a sort of dividend ballast in the portfolio.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing. And if you want that sort of thing, I guess the cost of that investment is what you want to look at. And I think the approach you've taken with a very low cost ETF is a very decent one.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a rally yesterday and it came back down, and I do buy pretty much on a monthly basis. Automated on the 5th for every month, and I think in fact the next dividend payment or the XD date is the 15th this month.
Yeah, just have a look at City of London Investment Trust, which I hold 5.5%, 5.4% dividend yield, and the ongoing charge is 0.37%. So that's what you want. If you want to sort of
it's quite similar chart.
Generate dividends, reinvest them, and do it cheaply.
Yeah, that's quite a similar chart to IUKD. Pretty much.
Yeah, it's a bit of a myth that investment trusts are expensive. A lot of them are very cheap. Scottish Mortgage, which was incredibly popular, had a bit of a tough time at the moment, but that's very cheap on a sort of ongoing charge basis. Charges in investment trusts tend to be higher when the underlying investment is a little bit more esoteric.
Yeah. Okay. a couple of comments. Michael, John's T-shirt doesn't look like it's made of cashmere. It doesn't, does it? It looks more like a Wilco design.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Okay.
Love this T-shirt.
Restore PLC looks interesting on late morning RNS. Restore. Are you aware of Restore, John, or what they do? I'm not actually.
I have to quickly remind myself. I'm feeling this is the document management company, but it might not be.
They're 292 million market cap. They're up a little bit, up 18% today. So on news, significant contract win, or this is a contract with HMRC. There's 2 today. So the contract valued at 140 million. This is good. So they are leading provider of digital information management, secure life sciences.
Remember that? Yes, I mean, we were talking about a company yesterday. Get busy, same sort of area. But in a world that is awash with information, these kind of companies should really be doing well. And here we go. Here's an example of one that is, and I think Get Busy is as well. It's why I was really surprised, as I said yesterday, about what happened to their shares on their results.
I do like charts like this, because it's been down in a downtrend for a long time. You see here, the share price hasn't even attempted to get above a 200-day moving average since March 2022. And it hasn't really broken the 50-day with any conviction. A couple of times it's broken it, a fake break. But now on this contract, you can see maybe the downtrend, the bottom is maybe here, and there's a gap here. Maybe it needs to be filled. So that, I like that. So
just been high on. Just looking at the numbers, which might explain why it's been in a downtrend. Profits have been fairly lackluster. It's been growing the top line, but 21, 22 grew the top line. Profits were flat. So costs were going up. Top line was flat, in the sort of trailing 12 months, but we're starting to see some growth again, and they've obviously been looking at the cost because profits are going to rebound quite sharply. They're looking at 30 and a bit million this year, up from 23 in 2022. So yeah, that's a sort of numbers game. That's a numbers thing that's happened there, and I guess it's going to convince the market that it can get back into profit growth, which contracts like this will help with. And as I say, I do think this sort of document management area is a sweet spot. Yeah,
well, I'm going to put that on my small cap watch list there, because
I'll tell you the other thing about this sort of market as well, which is potentially interesting. I don't know specifically what Restore are doing, but I do know what Get Busy are doing. This is again a market that is ripe for some kind of AI overlay, managing data, managing information, and certainly vast quantities of information. AI is definitely something that can help.
Yeah. How's your streaming at the beach there, John? Because you're delaying sometimes. I think maybe it's a shirt that's interfering with reception. You've frozen for a while. Just look at this on the RSI here. Look on the RSI here. I know it'll come back in. It's the beach shirt, I think, John is cutting out. Just the RSI has peaked up above 70 here. Sometimes you need to go above it to make a move. Last time I did it was back here in March 2021. So, but it may need some consolidation. Who knows? That could go even higher. But cool. John's still stuck there, and he's gone. When you're ready, John, again. Oh, there we are.
Oh, was it me that went?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's the beach internet you got there.
Yes.
In fact, talking about analytics, diagnostics companies, Genedrive there, tests for stroke treatment nears NHS introduction, and that's worth a look. I mean, have you just looking at they've been one of these companies that's rallied very strongly, Genedrive, off this kind of analytics way, and they've had some big up prices, so from literally 10 pence to like 50 pence. It's tried to give another 15 moving average a day. It hasn't quite managed it. Are you aware of Genedrive at all, John?
We had a look at it today. Interesting company. I mean, it's again, it's sort of been largely pre-revenue, but if it gets, these tests are for essentially a stroke treatment and how you treat people who've had a particular type of stroke. And again, this is all part of that NHS efficiency drive, making sure you're giving the right treatments to the right people. And this test, is about, it seems to be rolled out from medicine and
I gotta say, your internet, John, I don't know if it's me or you, but it's your internet sounds like sounds like you've had a stroke. No, it doesn't dip it up there. I don't know if you can move close to your Wi-Fi or whatever. But yeah, that's Genedrive. Anyway, I tell you an interesting company you've written about today, or Victor has covered. Light Science Technologies saw on Tomtech acquisition. So LST is ticker there, and they're only a nano cap pretty much, 9.32 million. They raised money recently, but the acquisition of Tomtech. You're still there, John? Worth a look. This is gonna be an interesting one. In fact, while John's trying to reconfigure his internet, Tony says, watch this pod live while at work, and why not? Love this show. Why not indeed? Yeah, I mean, do you work from home, or how does that work? Steve Liz, hi. What's your latest thoughts on Good Energy and Invinity? Well, John, welcome back.
Hello,
change your shirt or your internet.
No, the internet is it's interfering with the internet.
Well, listen, I hold. People accuse me of ramping here, but I do hold Good Energy. I just don't see a lot of downside. They've got a ton load of cash. They are profitable in a very, I think the net asset value, the chart isn't looking very good. The net asset value is about 38 million, and they are valued at around about, is it 28? I mean, they've had a rally here, and I'm looking at this band. They keep dropping out of this band, but their results are out, I think, on the 19th. And there's Invinity as well. Worth looking at that, because I've been hearing more and more about grid battery storage, IES, isn't it? And what we need is connect all these. I did today actually on the thing. Would you allow a wind farm next to your house? And because they ease the rules on wind farms, and of course, where's that energy going to go once it's created? Unless it's used, it has to be stored. And Invinity is one of the biggest vanadium flow batteries creators around. They manufacture them, and this is grid level, high industrial storage. It's not like having one of these in your house, because as yet, I think lithium-ion batteries are a bit more efficient and they cost less, but they don't last as long. And vanadium flow batteries do last, about 20, 25 years, which is the life cycle of a wind farm, pretty much, or a solar panel. So yeah, but
yeah,
it's broken out here.
I've switched off my video, by the way, just because
that's nothing to do with your shirts. I understand, John.
Yeah, it was my shirt that was interfering with everything. But no, Invinity I like, and bear in mind that the vast majority of installations in the UK, the energy storage are, as you say, lithium ion. But the companies that run them are technology neutral, and vanadium flow batteries that Invinity is producing, they are being installed around the world. There is one being installed in the UK, in fact, a very large project, I think, up in Scotland.
Yeah.
So I think there's a fantastic opportunity for this company, and the onshore wind thing is really interesting. It is, pound for pound, the cheapest cost of generating energy. There's obviously criticism of wind and renewables generally as being sort of subsidy driven, and offshore wind being expensive because of the difficulties in building that infrastructure. But onshore wind is a hell of a lot cheaper, and it's been mind-boggling that the government hasn't actually, it sort of lifted this. I don't think it was an official.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a ban. Do you know what it was? Apparently, I've heard. I don't know where I got this from. I think it was Wake Up to Money or something. But apparently, you can still apply for onshore wind farms, but if one person in your area objects to it, it basically doesn't go ahead. Yeah, so you can see that's pretty much a ban. But now they've eased that, and I think you need a majority to say they don't want it to go ahead. So there's more of a chance that it will happen. But I did say, what is would you like one in your backyard? I wouldn't mind. They don't make a noise anymore, do they? Apparently, they're very quiet now, these wind farms. Before, the problem was with noise and stuff, people said. But I wouldn't mind one next to me. I think they're quite majestic-looking things.
I think they're majestic, and actually, not too far from where I'm sitting here in Lowestoft is one of the UK's original onshore wind turbines. Massive thing called Gulliver. Yeah, and it's been there for about. I think it's been there for approaching sort of 15, 20 years, and it's spectacular. It's part of the landscape. I think it provides power to the Bird's Eye factory, which is down at the bottom. But it's lasted a very long time. And one of the other criticisms, of wind is that this stuff needs to be replaced. It's really difficult to dispose of, difficult to manage. And of course there is an element of truth to that. in offshore wind, where you've obviously got to get boats out too. But onshore, these things can go up and last for a long time and do a very, very good job of producing power. So this is really good news for the sector and for the UK's energy policy. In its entirety, really.
Yeah, I would say Infinity and Good Energy. I don't own Infinity anymore. I do own Good Energy. By the way, I was driving to Bournemouth Airport. That's right, on the way to the holidays, and we overtook a Good Energy van. So maybe that's a good sign, but I've never seen one before. But they are, of course, they've just acquired a heat pump installation business and a solar installation business. And of course, they supply 100% renewable energy. And if you check out their website, it's very impressive. Some of the people supply them from like smallholders that have hydropower or solar farms from. So in fact, I think there's a wine producer in the UK that uses a lot of solar power, and any excess they put back into Good Energy and via the grid. So it's a good story. I mean, I think it's I think it's the only energy supplier that's got 5 stars on Trustpilot and stuff like that. So I do like them. Their share price isn't reacting very well, but they've got a ton load of cash, about 20 million of cash, and their market cap is only 28 million, and they're profitable. And I think they're now going from owning wind farms to supplying. And their margins should go up, and their turnover is like over 200 million. So I just think it's good. iEnergy also Invinity Energy penned in massive growth. If you look at broker forecast, you're talking, the revenue really ticking up and profitable in by 2025. But I think they may need to raise money in a year's time, which shouldn't be a problem, because I think there'll be, the share price should be a lot higher than they are now. But I do like both those plays, because let's be honest, you are going. Excuse the pun, with the wind. The wind's in your sails here. It's with the current of where we're going. I mean, let's be honest, it's not going to be investment in these areas are not going to go down. Follow the money, it will go up. In these areas, I believe. So 100%. Life Science Technologies. Tell us about this company, because it's been covered on the website there. Explain. Do you know what they do? Essentially, I mean, you didn't write about them, but have you covered them before?
Yeah. I mean, it says exactly there in the RNS what it does: controlled environment agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
So think agriculture. We think of things being grown in fields. This is things being grown, in greenhouses. Hydroponic type stuff. It's basically a modern way of growing. And this is going to become all the more important. Especially within when we sort of environmental fluctuations we're seeing at the moment. So this is really interesting. It's made an acquisition today of a complementary company, a complementary company that's already, in fact, making good money out of this. So really, really interesting. And actually, look at the numbers on Life Sciences, which I will do now. It's just sort of well below the radar, but it did 8 million of turnover last year. It's interim results 4.4.
I did see they expected to go sort of up. The top line is growing, and they're edging towards profitability. I like the chart as well. The chart is it's come down. I remember interviewing these guys. I think I IPO'd a webinar with them. A couple of years back, and like I said, they IPO'd at 11 pence. We're up to 30 pence, and of course the bear market kicked in, and it's come down. But now, I mean, if you look at this, you can basically draw a line under here, and so they've been bumped on the bottom here. Broken the above 50-day, and now attempting to break where they are above that 200-day moving average. That's looking quite good. I mean, to me, the downtrend has ended there, and so maybe worth some further research there in that company. Because I did look at a video on their website earlier about them doing tests about tomatoes. If I get the figures right, there's 500,000 tons of tomatoes are eaten in the UK in a year. We only produce 100,000 of those. They said with the light environment and lights and all that stuff, they can grow a lot more sustainably all year round, by the way. So that's the kind of thing to do. So it increases yield at and reduces costs. So it's a very interesting area. So of course, if you can sort of become more independent on growing crops, then it's very important,
absolutely. And this acquisition today is really interesting. I think it's the company's first acquisition. It didn't pay a lot, but it's going to be very, very complementary. It's called TomTech, and it's basically control systems for these sort of environments. Basically in the same space. And what it's talking about: irrigation, lighting, all the venting, all the things that you need to grow, in these controlled environments effectively. So yeah, this is a really interesting company. As I say, it seems to have slipped a bit below the radar. I'm not surprised the shares are up quite a lot today.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, that's quite interesting. You mentioned Zenova recently, and they do protective coating for paints and all that stuff. And yet they've done now. Dulux is going to be the distribution partner. Who own Dulux? It's AkzoNobel, isn't it? Or something like that.
That's right. Yeah. Big international chemical company. It's
world's fourth largest consumer industrial coatings business. So that's quite interesting. Yeah.
This is really quite good for Zenova. I mean, we had some news the other day, which was this, using these products, big contract for using these products for, essentially protecting against the sort of fire risk from solar installations. But this is quite game changing. And these paints, I had a look at them because I've got some DIY that I need to be doing shortly. So it's intumescent paints that have really sort of high thermal insulation properties, renders that have thermal insulation properties, as well as of course the sort of fire safety stuff, the fire extinguishers that it's selling through various partners, including Amazon. So it's sort of a slow burn on the top line. This company, it seems to have gone quite slowly, but again, I like the look of this deal. Looks game changing. This stuff, could solve a lot of problems. Retrofitting insulation to houses, especially older houses, is very, very difficult. In some cases, almost impossible. Particularly where there's no cavity wall insulation. And this company, Zenova, is creating products that actually can solve some of those problems.
Yeah, I mean, they raised a bit of money, but they haven't got a huge amount of cash, but their loss is not that huge either. So hopefully, the gain they'll make from this, maybe it'll cover them a bit. Gain from the but yeah, again, another company is going down a hell of a lot. Like I said, a lot of companies IPO during the bull market, when the height of the bull market, and money was free and easy, and people throwing it around and any old thing. And then of course the bear market came in, and but look at that again, down. It's trying to, it's above 50-day moving average, not quite 200-day moving average, but it'd be nice to break above this sort of last level where it broke down from. So it goes for 7 pence, maybe it'd be quite good onto a rally. But they're only 5 million market cap. So, a company I've not heard of until today, I saw a broken note on it. It's Nexteq.
Do you know why you might not have heard of it? Because it's not changed its name. It used to be called Quicksant.
Okay.
However you pronounce that.
And what do they do?
I missed it. They do sort of componentry for sort of industrial applications, screen display technology, touchscreen technology, gaming machines. Changed the name in May, but really, really interesting little company. What they're doing, and I'm thinking back to a company called XP Power, which you may remember. Well, in fact, remember, it's still around. But they transitioned from being a company that sold bits, components, to a company that sold essentially, solutions. And it transformed the profit profile of that business. And that is exactly what is happening here at Nexteq. They were selling components, these industrial components. Now what they're doing is investing in R&D to create solutions. So rather than selling bits to the manufacturers of gaming machines, they will sell gaming machines. Rather than selling bits of technology to people producing displays for, say, broadcast, they will produce broadcast solutions. And you can see that coming through in the gross margin. Long transition.
You can see gross margin up from 16.8 to 19.2. Profit before tax, almost double there, almost.
So what this is essentially, looking at, what do we do as a business? How do we make it more profitable? Focusing on, specific sectors where it can use its expertise and its marketing channels to actually, upsell and move up the value chain.
Yeah, so if you look at that profit for the period of 4.3 million, if you double that, because that's interims, to say 8 million, 8.4 million, they are about P of 10 because they are about 84 million market cap. So, not.
Yeah, but, if they get more successful at selling these, turnkey solutions, then that profit growth, the gross margin improvement will just continue. So, that 10 might come down, very, very sharply in the future. Got a lot of cash as well, but plenty of cash to be playing with to get this transition through.
Craig says, glad to hear some positive feedback from my hometown of Lowestoft. Managed to watch live today from my decks. P6 July says, get the shirt off.
It's off. Don't worry. It's not off. It's off the screen.
I was just say it's off there. So just quickly look at let's look at the front page of Vox there, Zenova there. But some of the rise. Yep, Plexus Holdings, of course, recently, which they upgraded their contract. In fact, Paul Scott and Paul Hill talked about it yesterday. But that's had a bit of a run since that contract value increased from 5 to 8 million. Look at the chart on this, John. It's POS, of course, we know what that stands for. But the chart,
well, it's an unfortunate ticker, isn't it?
Yeah, 4 pence to 16 pence, 4 times got by. In the last,
I had to listen to I had to listen to Paul and Paul discussing this. I've got to say, fair play to Paul Scott. He's done well, but this is a brave approach he's taken. He's all in on this.
Is he? He's got a big hit.
Oh, he's got a lot of exposure to this. You know, he is committed. This is a conviction trade on his behalf. I am too much of a chicken to take that sort of approach.
That's most followed. Genedrive is saying Restore now. I followed that, so maybe that's it. This is a new company. Listen, did we miss this yesterday? 22 million. Tribe Technology, developer and manufacturer of autonomous mining equipment designed to improve productivity and reduce costs. So that's very interesting. So obviously it's just listed, but maybe worth a follow sometimes. Just, there's not much news there, of course, but that sounds quite interesting. Improving mining costs, a £23 billion market position that or size that. So that's maybe worth a follow. It's often worth coming down here to see what's being followed, because sometimes you do get new companies just listed being followed. And you think, okay, and just have a click into them. Avacta notice of results, always, even when they just notice the results, always well read there. Avacta, it's almost treading water at the moment. The Avacta share price, it's bump along this, as you see, big. You can put that line. Look at that £1 line. It bumps up, goes down, comes back to it. It's almost like a magnet, bounces along there, rises, and gets dragged back down to it. So we'll see. But I don't know what happened here.
A lot of fans this one has.
Yeah, I don't know why it dipped down so much there, but you can see that was probably a buying opportunity. 40 pence it went there. But so it's hard to see where that's going. It's in no trend at the moment. It's under the 200-day moving average and just above 50-day. But that line seems to be the magnet of that. So below that's a good buy, I'd say. Who knows? What else is on there? Genedrive covered that. Powerhouse Energy, has that reacted today? This is the chart of Powerhouse. Of course, they've changed direct. That's a significant committed downtrend there. It's not even, it's trying to have a couple of rallies, but it's not going anywhere. What else we got? Half report. Atlantic Lithium.
Yes,
Victor covered this, I think.
He did, yeah. We just had some really, mortgage drill results. Yeah. Mortgage drill is much of the same. We know that's a great resource.
Yeah, it's just they're waiting for I think that mining license, aren't they?
That's the thing that we're waiting for, and obviously there's been lots of speculation around what's going on in Ghana with the lithium industry. But you've spoken to the company, and they're fairly confident that they're going to get the approvals they need. Yeah, it is a great resource there, and it's the hopefully mining at the start of 2025. There's some good grades and results in there. Anything else worth looking at, John, on there? Some of the losers, they're delisting, whatever global Invacom Group are, they're delisting, that's why it's fallen. Proposal to cancel on AIM. Not on my radar.
No, not mine. LoopUp, let's look at LoopUp. Was that mentioned yesterday? No,
we haven't really looked at them. They've been around for a while. If it's a video conferencing technology, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thinking. We pretty much covered everything that caught my eye, I have to say.
Let's look at the chart on it. Oh my word, that's flatlined there. It's coming down from like 240 down to wow, £2.40, 2.36 pence. That's phenomenal. And anything else on the do you know what? That's odd, wasn't it? Petrol prices, by the way, as you mentioned. Let's look at the oil price, because that is starting to worry. Of course, that'll put a spanner in the works for inflation. If it starts to rise, and we can see here, pretty much. Let's get rid of that. Previous resistance on oil. It tried to rally above this $90 over here, and a couple of times it failed and broke down, and then it went down lower, and we saw another sort of range here, but it broke back up. And now, as you can see, it is threatening to give up this $90 level, and they're saying this could, get above this. it's because of Saudi Arabia and Russia, unexpectedly announced their voluntary squeeze on supplies will continue, and so they're saying this could hit.
Yeah, call me a cynic, but like unexpected, really.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
This is we've spoken about this before. This is why I haven't been as optimistic on the inflation outlook as others, because these are factors outside of anyone's control, really, except for those people making that decision within OPEC and OPEC Plus and Saudi and Russia, because if they cut output, prices rise, and this is such an important commodity as it stands today for the global economy that it's just bad news on the inflation front.
And also keep an eye
you've
on.
Still got.
Yeah, go on.
I'm just going to say you've still got other factors that we've mentioned before. Wage growth. And if inflation rears its ugly head again, or stays a bit sticky, then wages will be. Wage negotiations demands will become entrenched as well. So I just don't share the optimism around inflation. This is why the market's taking a bit of a beating today.
Yeah, but also keep an eye on natural gas, because I don't know if you saw that there's a proposed strike may be happening in Australia, and the companies involved supply 5% of the world's LNG. So if that strike happens, that could push that up as well, and that would really knacker inflation figures if those both went up, oil and gas. And finally, it looks like you would have been better off buying a lottery ticket, I think, than trying to fly on August bank holiday. They said that air traffic control system was a 1 in 15 million event. That's the same odds for winning the lottery, isn't it? But of course, if you lose £2, doesn't matter. If you lose your holiday, it's not at all. But that's not there. It's never happened before, which is quite worrying, I suppose.
Yeah, I haven't actually, believe it or not, I haven't been on a plane since 2019. It's quite extraordinary. Yeah, so you want to avoid.
Well, I'm surprised they let you through customs with that shirt on.
If you want to avoid black swan events like this, then get in your car and hop to Lowestoft. It's a beautiful town. It's beautiful beaches.
Yeah, cool. Let's have a look for some panels. We'll cover this tomorrow at XPF. We'll look at that, and Verb Technology is linked to TikTok. What's Verb Technology? Never heard of that.
Never heard of it. Have a look.
Okay, excellent. Thanks very much, and we'll speak tomorrow. Hopefully, John will have a sensible shirt on, and he won't bring down the internet in Lowestoft. Don't forget to hit subscribe and comment. Yeah, you're better off going bare top, don't I think?
No.